Hey everybody, welcome back and Merry Christmas. In today's video, I want to have a look at Fantom as requested a few hours ago. I always do try and get videos out if you guys ask for them. Now, one thing I do want to point out, and it's me being wrong, I want to I want to show you guys that I can be wrong, and oftentimes I will be. In my last Fantom video, I pointed out this head and shoulders pattern that had taken place over sort of the start of the last bull run up to more or less today. And when I made this video, which was about 2 months ago, this was about the time we were at. I think it was sometime around here after this green candle. I'm not quite sure. And what I basically said is a head and shoulders pattern oftentimes indicates you have your shoulder here. So you have a big pump and then a sort of a correction. And then you have another higher pump that breaks your prior high. And then a retracement back to the previous low, sort of breakout point. And then you have another pump which doesn't go as high as here and oftentimes sort of gets to a similar level as this guy, and then another correction back to this original low. And then once you get this correction, you often see a breakdown in a similar way as we saw the break up movement here, and it creates a shoulder, a head, a shoulder. And I said that we can, these patterns have played out hundreds of times in the stock market and in the crypto space, and they oftentimes break down to this way. And it sort of lined up well with another idea of mine, which was sort of this deep value zone that I said that Fantom is at a good price within this range, and every time it's dipped in, it hasn't spent long there, and it's oftentimes gone up quite a bit in price when it does go into that range. And I said if we do see it go into this range, there's a good chance that it won't come back up like it has before. It will sort of break down below and play out this head and shoulders pattern. Even though I did say there is a chance, of course, that it bounces like it did the previous times. And maybe I should have been more heavy on that narrative, because that's what happened. Fantom bounced off this sort of support and has rallied ever since. And we're coming very close to sort of these prior highs that we saw at the beginning of 2023 with the January run with after FTX and all this. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that, I'm not always right, and even if a lot of the stuff I say is logical and makes sense, there's still a chance that it doesn't play out. So in today's video, I'm going to take a different look. Again, I'm going to be taking a look at these halvings. You can see here, these orange lines indicate the halving, and I'm just going to compare the sort of time zone that we've had from previous halving dates that we've had with Fantom on its US dollar pair, and the current halving dates we're currently in leading up to the upcoming halving. So taking a look at the only halving Fantom has experienced back in 2020, and I'm taking a range of about 180 days. I wanted about half a year because I feel like that's a good sort of time zone to look at. But again, these things, very most likely won't play out they won't play out the same. That's almost impossible. And when we take a look, we'll see why it already hasn't played out the same. But again, this sort of 186-day range. And we can see that Fantom very clearly starts off at the top. I'm going to change it to the daily so we get a more detailed look. Excuse me. So we can see more or less Fantom starts at the top here, and it slowly trends down, and then it finally has a big sell-off, a big breakdown, and then it slowly trends up. And if we, let me just ballpark these very quickly. We have an obvious resistance here. We have a obvious support here that we don't often visit. We sort of wick down and bounce up to it, but we can see once we break down below, we come back to test it, and we got rejected again, and that caused Fantom to have a huge sell-off. Now, this also coincides with the COVID sell-off that the whole crypto space saw. And again, sort of throughout February and March, when COVID was only growing, we saw a lot of downward news, basically since mid-February all the way until mid-March. So a whole month, basically, of bad price action. And again, a lot of people, me included, to be honest with you, would contribute this to COVID-19 when it was first announced and was causing trouble. However, I did a video on Bitcoin and its prior halvings, and we often saw every halving had a sell-off that in a similar manner to similar amounts, more or less. And sometimes it happened just after the halving, sometimes it happened before the halving, sometimes we had a big sell-off before and we had a big sell-off afterwards, but there is usually some sort of a big sell-off, panic sell close to the halving, whether it's just after or just before. So this, to me, even though I wasn't really into the crypto space that much at this time, I'd only learned, looking back, it wasn't much of a surprise that this happened, especially with the general macro news of crypto. But to summarize, we start off at the top, we trend down, we break down out of our trend, and then we start to trend upwards. And we can see, like, from here, we trend up quite nicely, you know, so on. So we see we break down below and we trend up. If we have a look at today's predicaments, these last sort of 186 days, we can see that we've started at the bottom, so already nowhere near similar to the previous halving that we have to compare to, and so far we've only trended up. And again, this has taken me by surprise, to be honest with you. Like, I was quite confident in my belief that we would move down here, and ever since this market has had this trend up, the whole crypto space had this trend up, I've been kind of taking a back foot and having to reassess everything that's been going on for me, and to make, you know, I don't want to be a perma bear. If the market is trending upwards, I have to realistically go, okay, the market is trending upwards, let's find out why and see, you know, how long this will go on for, because, you know, that's the whole point of QA. You want to know what the market is going to try and do. And one thing I have found is that every 2 years or so, most crypto assets do have a rally. Like we saw on even here in 2019, we saw this sort of a move where we had a nice strong rally of 1400%. And then 2 years later, we had our Bullrun where we had crazy rallies. And now 2023, 2024, late 2024, we have another sort of move where we've gone 210%, much less. But this is common amongst all cryptocurrencies. Every 2 years, including Bitcoin, there is some sort of a rally. But every 4 years, there's one bull run. And, you know, plus 2 years, there's always sort of a, just, I don't know, like a relief rally. I'm not sure, after the 2 years of bad price action from the bear market. So I personally think we're going through one of these. But again, I could very much be wrong, like I was here with my head and shoulders. If we're going to try and make a connection from the current to the previous, we could sort of try look at it from reverse. So maybe we start close to the bottom and we trend upwards, but this isn't already working. So we can maybe do a mirror where we flip this on its horizontal axis. So we have a slow trend up and then a break to the upside and then a trend down. And this would seem to play like, well, it's the only narrative that fits so far because we're trending upwards. Maybe we have a break to the upside, which just could be all of this. And then we slowly trend down. Like you can see, we just slowly trend up here. So the horizontal flip, this would be a slow trend down. But that would also assume that we would come up to this high here, which I don't think will happen, not before the halving, but it could very well. I mean, if you draw just a simple line here to follow the, like, you know, the support, we can see that, you know, it more or less lines up with the halving date if it is going to continue up this way. But also, if it does continue up this way, it's going to be at 50% of its all-time high. 50% away from, so a 2x move from its all-time high. And I know that doesn't sound too crazy, like in crypto, oh, a 2x move, we have that all the time. But to get there, we'd need multiple 2x moves, especially from down here. And let me just check how much of a move. It already says it there, excuse me, 750% of a move. So we'd need a 7.5x. Actually, no, a 8.5x, I think. So, you know, it's a lot to get there. And while it has been extremely impressive, this last move, again, I'm just wary. We've seen moves like this before here. Like, I'm sure everyone in 2019, when they had rallies of, you know, 360% in a month, we're calling bull market. And if we take a look at what we've had here, we've had, you know, 200% moves over 2 months, 2.5 months. You know what I mean? So again, it's just to kind of try and use historical data. And again, we could very much be in a bull market. I don't know. Crypto is still a new asset class. So it's very difficult to come in here and say with confidence what's going to happen, because first of all, nobody knows what's going to happen. And second of all, there's such little data surrounding it that it's hard to even make educated guesses on what's going to happen. So if I had to put money on it, I would assume Fantom would trend up for a little while, but at some point we'll come back to this support line. Maybe not this support line, it might be another, but something of a support line, and we will break down below. And like we saw here, once we break down below, we might have a big sell-off and then slowly trend up into the bull run. But I don't envision us coming back down to these levels. I think these times have gone. Taking a look at Fantom on its Bitcoin pair, again, just a very sort of quick, simple explanation. I drew this line last time, and I think it's held up well. It's just kind of shown the general trend of Fantom on its Bitcoin pair. And as we can see, it has just slowly, averagely gone up. And we can see it spent 840 days below this line, and it spent 1,030 days above this line. And we can see we even found support here, before we had this market rally, which again sort of lined up nicely with my head and shoulders pattern. And we might have even have broken down below at this point when I made my video. So I was totally invested in that scenario, to be honest with you, happening. So when this happened, again, took me by surprise. But it also does show that we've had these 3 tests now of this sort of resistance. And so far, we haven't really done too much around it. Now, we've been rejected off it today. And if we zoom right in, we can see we've had quite a significant rejection. We've actually moved down 20% today on Fantom on its Bitcoin pair, which is quite a lot, Even in crypto, 20% in a day is significant. So we could see something like this play out. And again, if Fantom can still go up on its US dollar pair, if it goes down on its Bitcoin pair, but it just means that Bitcoin is performing better than Fantom. And looking at this chart, we can see that basically, since the end of the bull run, end of 2021, start of 2022, Fantom has just gone down. It's just gone down. So you would have been much better to move your money back into Bitcoin if you wanted to stay exposed to the crypto space during a crypto bear market. And it looks like it could continue to be the better choice, Bitcoin over altcoins at the moment, because again, it's sort of following this descending pattern. Now, I did make a video on Chainlink. Go check that out after this if you want. And we compared it to Bitcoin during bear markets and halving years. And we found some very interesting pieces of data. And Chainlink did hold up very well and did outperform Bitcoin during bad times, which was very interesting. So go take a look at that if you want to sort of find a few alternatives to Bitcoin, if you still want to hold altcoins that could outperform Bitcoin. Like, everyone's hyped about Solana at the moment, but Solana didn't outperform Bitcoin for the whole bear market. It was a terrible asset to hold during the bear market. But for the last few months, it's been a great asset to hold because it's done like a 5x in 3 months. So again, if you want sort of to take a look, maybe for the next bear market, prepare yourself. Just have a few ideas in the back of your head so that when the time comes might help you. Go check out the Chainlink video that I did about a month ago. Anyway, comparing this sort of resistance to this past resistance that we've had leading up to the halving, we can see it's sort of playing out pretty similarly. Again, like here, we were testing this resistance much more. And again, this sort of COVID sell-off took place and kind of spiced things up a bit, changed it a bit, varied things a bit. But it still ultimately played out the same, where leading up to the halving, altcoins bled to Bitcoin. After the halving, we had a pump on altcoins, and then Bitcoin claimed back its lost ground over about 6 months, up until the beginning of the next bull run. So another thing, if you think it's a bull run right now, we should see this continue to go up, because altcoins in the bull run always outperform Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't the moneymaker in a bull run. The altcoins are. Because altcoins have such lower market caps that they're able to go up, 20x when Bitcoin goes up a 3x. You know what I mean? So again, if you're a very bullish person right now and think that we're at the start of a bull run, there are a few things that need to take place for that to happen. And that is altcoins need to lead against Bitcoin. And so far they are doing that, but they are doing it from a low. So again, like here, you could argue this was a bull run and you would have been very happy for 6 months, but ultimately you would have seen all of your gains removed. And if you want to try trade this as well, like again, it might not play out the same. And again, we might move up. Again, it's impossible to say for sure, but looking at past performance and making an educated guess from that, we can see the market trended down up to the halving, rally up, reclaimed land, and then altcoin season, bull run, huge money made, on Fantom on its Bitcoin pair, and you can see it went up 1,500% on its Bitcoin pair. And Fantom outperformed Bitcoin, last bull run, so it went up way more than that on its US dollar pair. So again, just something to be interested in. And again, it would sort of maybe, again, this line doesn't really mean too much realistically, but we might see a bit of a drop down below it, and we might even up with the amount of time we've spent above and below this line. But that's neither here nor there. That kind of wraps it up for today's video. I just want to check I've sort of said everything. I spoke about this breakout. Yeah, that kind of does it for this video, guys. If you liked the video, please comment down below what you want next, because I do always listen. And if you guys want a specific altcoin, I'll do my best to make a video on that if there's enough to talk about and enough data to pull from. Take care, guys. Wishing you the best in the new year. There'll be a few videos out before then, hopefully, if all goes well. See you soon, and peace.